Well, moving on from qualifying, I can sense that we're itching to touch on more of the race elements now. You sort of already asked me a bit about this, but I wanted to ask you about safety in general, because it's been a bit of a running theme of the Grand Prix weekend, and you talked specifically about the nature of the track. But this is a race where we expected to get, at least some kind of VSC safety car. It's usually the case with these kind of street circuits, because if something goes wrong, you're just straight in the wall. There's nobody's going to be pulling you out of a gravel trap, or there's not some big runoff that you can go and hide in, or it's usually on street circuits, when things go wrong, they go pretty spectacularly wrong. Did you have any concerns about the way that safety in general was handled at this Grand Prix weekend, and anything to do with VSC safety cars, marshals on track, etc.?
I think safety is such a big topic around the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, because if you have a look at this race and compare it to last year's race, they're completely different races, aren't they? Last year we had a handful of red flags and safety cars, and this year we only had a single safety car and a single VSC, so they're completely different races. But let's focus on this year, which was surprising, because I was watching it with you again today, and I said there's going to be at least like 1 or 2 red flags in this race, because as soon as someone stacks it, it's going to be a red flag instantly. But that wasn't the case. Fortunately. But I think safety, there's still a little bit further to go. And I want to talk to you about the virtual safety car we had later on in the race. So I believe I got somewhere in my notes here that both Alonso and Ricciardo later on in the race suffered power issues with regards to their car. So Alonso lost, didn't completely lose power, but was stuck in 4th gear and was trundling back to the pits. And Ricciardo on the same lap had lost drive coming out of the final corner and then was coasting into the pit lane. Now, the virtual safety car was thrown straight away, which was a good decision because you've got slow-moving cars. But the worrying thing was for me is we had marshals running out of the pit lane. Obviously, the pit lane was closed eventually, but we had marshals running up the pit lane when we've got cars going down the pit straight. Now, they're only on virtual safety cars, so they're sticking to a delta, and even on the back straight, they're going more than 100 miles per hour, like easily. We've got cars flying down the pit straight. We've got marshals running up the pit straight, and that didn't sit too right with me at all. Now, maybe that's a risk the FIA are willing to take, and maybe those are agreements they've had with the marshals. Like, if it's in the pit lane, we're not going to throw a full safety car because you're protected, or what have you. But it might be more
accurate to say it's a risk that the FIA are willing to have the marshals make.
Yeah, but it was odd watching the race. From like a top-down camera, and we saw Ricciardo's, stricken car with marshals pushing it, and cars going down the pit straight pretty fast within like 3 or 4 meters of these marshals. And I'm thinking, this seems completely unnecessary. We could have had a safety car for 2 laps, and it would have been fine. This virtual safety car seemed a bit.
And the pit lane was closed anyway, wasn't it? The pit lane
eventually
was closed, so it was,
because we did get Hulkenberg and Magnussen pit whilst those 2 cars were in. The entrance
Ricciardo
to the pit lane
was there, I think. I think it was Ricciardo was there.
So there was a little bit of risk.
It did look a little bit sketchy, them going past that fast, because it's fast enough that something could go wrong and you lose control in a way that you wouldn't if you suddenly had a problem under the safety car, for example. So,
or you had a tyre blowout. We've seen them time and time again over previous seasons. So
yeah, although a lot less likely at that speed, you'd think.
True.
But yeah, I think it was just the visual of it was quite striking. They were going past quite fast, and then these people sort of walking within a couple of meters of it. I think the sight of that is a little bit concerning, but overall, I thought it was okay in terms of the way it was handled safety wise. I was a bit concerned when Alonso was, like you said, he was stuck in 4th and he was just sitting on the racing line. I felt like he should have gone just super wide for every corner, but maybe he had the engineer on the blower going, "Now you're okay." I assume, or at least I certainly hope that they would say something if somebody was coming up fast. Other than that, nothing massive sticks out safety-wise. I think it was generally pretty good despite a lot of concerns, including, my own looking at it and thinking, well, as long as if they handle it badly, then something really could go horribly wrong. They seem to be on top of it from what I could tell.